Okay, let's get everything set up. Get the jitters out, get the jitters out, get the jitters out. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I am super excited to bring you a second in this series of product reviews. It's going to be a little different than the first one that we did, as I unfortunately do not have an unboxing segment. I wish I did to have another enclosure to unbox, but I also don't really need that right now and I don't really have the space. So today we are actually going to be taking a look at the Dubia.com's Reptile enclosures. I have 9 of these enclosures, so pretty used to them, their setup, how they work, and I do have some pros and some cons. I will say, just as with the Arcadia lights, I don't think I would be doing you guys a service if I just went ahead and said everything that is great about these products, because if you're looking up reviews about them, you want info about them, I see that it's helpful to find both the pros and the cons, so we will be doing that today. I do know that this company is a fan favorite by a majority, or like a lot of the reptile industry. I enjoy them as well, but I know sometimes if you say some negatives, you know, they descend on you like a pack of wild dogs, so I'm fully prepared for that. But I will go ahead and let you know some of the things that I love about these enclosures, as well as some things that I think could use some tweaks, and that could use some just overall improvements, because they're really good enclosures, but I don't think they are the best enclosure, and they might not be right for you and your pet. With that said, they did come out with a version 3 of these enclosures. I don't have that version. I bought these enclosures 2 years ago, so I don't exactly know what version that is, but it is not the newest version, and I did go ahead and look at the V3s, and I didn't really see the things that I wanted addressed, but I could be mistaken. Like I said, I don't have one, so if something I've said in this video is incorrect, or if they have corrected it with the V3s, feel free to let me know, because I would be super thrilled, because the points that I have are fairly minor. I feel like with some tweaks they could be easily adjusted for some, but then there are some aspects of these cages that we will get into that I just don't think that they're right for everything. Okay, so for starters, what are reptile enclosures in general? Or am I just talking about the things that you keep your reptiles in as a whole? No, I am not. Reptile enclosures is a specific line from Dubia.com, and they have made these enclosures out of PVC, with some of the notable standouts being that they tend to be lighter than your average glass tank, they tend to be more affordable than your average glass tank or even larger custom-made enclosure, even those on the PVC front, and they tend to be a lot easier to put together, and therefore just overall people have found a lot of satisfaction with being able to upgrade their animals' enclosures to larger spaces and not having to break the bank or break their back in order to do it. So those are some things that the company is really priding themselves on, and they do seem to be able to kind of back their products with really good customer support and really good replacement parts if you do happen to need them for any part of your enclosures, including the cable locks, where you can run your equipment through and it goes ahead and locks in place on the side of the enclosures, things like stacker replacements, panel replacements. If you need them, you can go ahead and just reach out to the company, and they are typically willing to work with you, as opposed to having to buy a whole new enclosure if something does break. So let's talk about why I purchased these enclosures. In the past I have had Exoterras, I've had Zoomed front opening enclosures, I have a custom PVC enclosure for my green tree pythons, whose name, the company I can't remember, but I will go ahead and write it in the video to shout out that company because they're very good. I have had plastic bins, I've had all the way just your standard glass tanks. I've had the full gambit of enclosures, but when I did see that these were coming out, the one big thing that was a big attention getter for me about these specifically was the ability to A, be able to upgrade my animals and not spend every single dime that I have doing it, and B, the biggest point for me was the fact that they are stackable. You can go ahead and stack these enclosures on top of each other, so it makes saving space, especially for me who is moving into an apartment in New York, definitely something that was a big plus. So I really liked that, and I liked that they had kind of different styles and different formatting. Whether you wanted your longer terrestrial tanks or your arboreal tanks, they seemed to be able to have something that fit the bill for almost anything that I could think of. Additionally as well, when I was looking into buying these enclosures, I did really like the fact that they were made of PVC and would be lighter than your traditional glass tank. Whenever I was moving around, especially in undergrad, I had almost purely Exoterras and glass tanks, and the weight of those were up in the 100 pounds or more, and having just me and my father to lift it, it was, and you know, my mom helping a little bit too, it was definitely a big project to get everybody moved in and moved out, especially since I moved every single year in undergrad. So it was a big task, and it became very much a, are we gonna break our backs doing this? Are we gonna break a tank doing this? Is it gonna just become a whole big thing for the rest of my life that I'm carting around 100-pound objects to and fro? So when I found out that these were, you know, typically lighter than your average glass tank, I definitely was on board for that as well. Another thing that I really liked is the chance to, again, like I said before, upgrade my animals. The typical 120 gallon that they offer was not as pricey as your typical 120 gallon tank or 120 gallon equivalent of an Exoterra, for example. They were at the time incredibly affordable, with prices staying moderately the same. Have increased a little bit over the years, but at this point what hasn't, so nothing crazy there, but you were able to get them, and I found that the shipping on them, they arrived relatively quickly as well. So it wasn't like you were buying something or buying a larger size that had to be custom made and wait a really long time for it to ship and arrive at your house. Additionally, since they are PVC, they do come in boxes that are relatively flat because all the pieces are laid out together in the box. So you're also not buying a glass tank that is huge and big and rectangle, which is adds a whole big problem with shipping and would make that incredibly expensive. Lastly, again, I mentioned it at the start, I do really want to shout out this company's customer service. One of the cons that we'll get into is that I did end up having a couple problems with these enclosures as I was acquiring them, and everyone was really nice and really approachable and understanding. They did have a couple minor hiccups that I will talk about, but I think that they do a really good job of trying to address your concern, or at least understand and try to make up for it. Whether it is like sending a whole other replacement or, you know, sending you credits for the website, they do tend to do a really good job and get back to you rather quickly. Additionally, the owner of the company tends to be more on the approachable side. I don't know how it is now, but like in the years past, I was able to shoot him a message on Facebook and say, hey, like, I'm trying to buy this piece and I can't find it on the website, or I'm trying to buy this thing, or this panel was not how it was supposed to be, and he relatively will say, hey, like, I will talk to this person in the company and we'll go ahead and get you a shipment out. So I really do appreciate that. Good customer service is super important to me, mostly because if I'm buying something for my animals, I want to make sure that it is going to come in and be correct, because I can't go ahead and do a ton of adjustments once my animal is in the enclosure. Of course I can take them out, but I want to make sure that the product that I'm buying is not something that I'm going to have to continue to adjust and make little tweaks as that product gets older. So I really appreciate that, and I would definitely say it's a big pro on my list for these enclosures. So another pro of these enclosures, besides the fact that they're relatively lightweight, the price typically is a little bit better than your average glass tank, and the customer service. So I feel like those are 3 points that I've hit on as something that I feel are pretty pros for these guys. Would be the various sizes that the tanks do come in. They have really large cages of these. They have smaller versions of these cages, pretty much almost any size that you want in a typical Exoterra standing will be available in a Reptile enclosure standing. And they even have some that have the ability to be extended, so even if you are looking for a size or you want something just that much bigger or that much more floor space, there are some ways to potentially connect certain enclosures to make them even bigger. I have not done that, so I don't know, for example, with those connection points, I don't know how solid they are. I don't know if they have substrate that goes through them. I can't speak to that because I haven't done it, but I do really appreciate the fact that we are moving towards giving our reptiles more space. These enclosures over here are 60 gallons behind me. These are 60 gallons as well, these two right here. And then this one, is 120 gallons, so I was definitely able to upgrade because these guys were originally in 40 gallons, now they're in 60s. 90s I think are going to be the next jump that I make because they're this exact same floor size, they're just taller, and I think that that would be really beneficial for my animals. Honestly, I could even do other 120s. I think that would be fun too. But I'm not made of money and I'm actually kind of broke being in vet school, so take that with a grain of salt. But they do have all of these really cool sizes that you are able to then upgrade your animal and then fill that space with all kinds of enrichment, all kinds of different areas that they can go and explore, and a lot of them have really good height on them as well, so you're able to incorporate a bunch of different branches, vines, areas that the animals can climb and explore, which I think is really, really awesome. Additionally, for my tanks behind me, some of them look a mess now, which eventually will be a con, but we'll talk about that. But I do really like that for most of these you can go ahead and install some kind of custom background. When I was installing them, it was relatively easy to do. I see now some areas where there's some changes that could be made to make that process easier. And I was pretty sure that Dubia was also selling custom backgrounds, but then I think they took them off the website. It would be really cool if they could find some way to do like a Custom Rocks, I think that's the company. They have really cool like siliconed in backgrounds or magnetic backgrounds that are super easy to install. They're just a little pricey, so if they could find a way to start again making their own custom backgrounds for these panels, I think that that could be really, really fun and really, really nice. Additionally, they are all screen top enclosures, which is a pro and a little bit of a con. I do know that they're starting to try to make solid tops, which would definitely make it better for some of our humid species or our tropical species. But for example, my tank 1, which is out of frame over there, but I'll shoot some footage of it, it's an all arid tower, if you will. It's just 3 tanks stacked on top of each other, so they typically don't have any of those problems of not being able to maintain humidity because they don't need to. So they have really, really nice, good quality screens. They don't flimms. That's probably the one thing about the Exoterras that I don't like. I don't like their screen tops on the top. I think they're very flimsy. They tear really easily. I just don't like them at all. These ones, I don't know if I can touch it, but like they're very, very, very tough. They're very good quality. I have seen a little bit of rusting happening with them, but nothing to the point where I've seen with the Exoterra screens where they just end up brown and gross and flimsy, and I hate them. Even though I do like a good Exoterra, we'll talk about those in the future some point too, but definitely really appreciate the really nice quality mesh on a Reptile enclosures lid. But I'm excited for when they do solid tops because boy, these guys do not maintain humidity. Alright, so let's move into some of the cons with these enclosures. The first one being that they are not waterproof. Now, credit to this company, they say all over the place, these are not waterproof enclosures. They are not glass. They don't have the nice corners of glass to hold water. They are not waterproof. But they do say, oh, if you just silicone all the edges, they will be waterproof. I have not really found that to be the case. I've siliconed in every panel on every single enclosure that I have, and if for some reason my misting system like goes off for too long, or if I'm like messing with it, they will leak. They will leak. It just is what it is. It's not super big con for me because, again, it just kind of is what it is. But it's just kind of annoying when you want to have tropical species, or like you have species that might like tip over their water bowl or something, and then you're going to have to worry, is it going to just leak out onto the floor? And I'm very worried about some of the potential water that has leaked out of some of these bigger tanks. Check my floor, and my floors, they look okay, but I just don't know because they are very much not waterproof, and they will just like drip in the back. They'll just like drip down the side if you're not careful. And I have gone so crazy as to just start siliconing even the tops of the frames, like underneath, siliconing even more just to try to keep them a little more waterproof. Not that you could just put water in there, but I think that they should be able to handle like some misting and stuff, because that's what you need to do for your tropical species. They need to have some sort of misting going on. That leads to con number 2, which I kind of talked about. They do have, really awesome, but they do have mesh lids on every single one of them. Like I said, I think they're coming out with something to fix this, so I don't want to like, beat a dead horse, but if you're going to try to have a humid environment, you do have to come up with ways to cover parts of that screen, or make sure that they're just maintaining enough of that humid gradient with the soil that you use and the decor that you have and the maybe water bowls that you have, so that you're able to maintain that humidity level. I haven't found an exact perfect way to do this, but I think it is possible, and I do see a lot of people using these for like ball pythons and stuff, so obviously, there is a workaround around it. I just think hopefully we could get something that you could start covering the tops, or just making the tops out of something that still looks aesthetically pleasing, and it's not just like covering them with, blanket or foil or whatever, because the more stuff that you add to the top of your tanks, especially if you have heat lights or whatever, you end up doing like the chimney effect, so then you heat downwards and then the humidity just rises right out, which is not great. And then I don't like personally putting anything around my heat lights at all. I'm a big fire worrier. I just worry about my house going up in flames, so I don't like putting anything around my source of heat. So if you do have a heat light on top, you really can't cover around that, or I wouldn't suggest it. So regardless of if you cover the rest of the screen, there's still going to be portions that are able to come out from that area, but it's obviously not something that I think, I think if we work on getting something more solid for the screen, then it would probably fix the problem. So it's not like a big con that I roll my eyes at, but there are a few cons that I roll my eyes at. Okay, I'm getting into the cons that drive me crazy, having owned these for 2 years now, that I think have very simple fixes. I'm sure there are reasons why they have not been done. People are probably a lot smarter than me who can tell me 800 reasons why my idea is not a smart one, but I'm going to tell you them anyways because they bother me. These tanks are stackable, and that is a big pro. A negative, though, is that the freaking connectors are so tiny that you could never dream of sticking your hand under or in between your tanks to fix something, to restring something up. If your animal gets in between there, don't even think about sticking your hand underneath there to try to get them, because it's not happening unless you have really, really small hands. And I thought I did, but I don't, allegedly. It's very annoying, and I think a simple fix would be to make the connector taller. That way, you could see under your tanks, and maybe even better, you could string up lighting between the tanks, not in the tanks, because I've never installed lighting into tanks until this point, which thankful to this company, because now I'm kind of an expert at it, a little bit. But if we just raise them a little, you could just put your lighting on top. Now that does warrant what happens if those things fail and then they crush your lights. I don't know. That would be a worry of mine, but I can tell you that not being able to reach my hand under here to do anything once these tanks are on top of each other, who, by the way, are light when they're empty, but when they're filled, they're kind of not light, so it's hard, is frustrating. I would love it if they would just provide larger corner connectors so that we could at least access a portion of our under tank here. That would be lovely. I don't know if that's what most people want in their tanks. I didn't think it was what I wanted, but when they started leaking and I had to start siliconing portions of them, or when my fire skinks pushed out the cord catcher, the cord thing, the cord lock, they went underneath here and I had to fish them out with my Swiffer sweeper handle because I can't stick my hand in there to get them. So that's not ideal, in my opinion. It might be minor to some, but super easy fix. Make it bigger. I don't know if that's possible, maybe with the weight, I'm not sure, but they should fix that, because like you can't, even if you have a misting system, my misting system is jammed in here, which was very hard to install, by the way, once they were on there, because I can't stick my hand under here. So it's very frustrating, and I wish that they would fix it. Okay, major con number 2 that I do not think is addressed in the V3s. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I did look because I looked for this very specific reason. These tanks, especially the long ones, not necessarily the cubes and the arboreal ones, if you will, they need a bar on the bottom in the middle. They need it badly, because when you put the bottom panel in, and I will show an extreme example, but I'll show a non-extreme example too, they dip so low to the point where I was genuinely worried that the bottom panel was going to just fall out, and then I can't reach underneath there. At that point I wouldn't anyways, but then I can't reach to get everything out of there because the height's not enough. It would be so bowing that it would just all the way out. It's in every single tank that I have, with the major one being this one, and this one is partially my fault, okay, I will own that. I have water skinks in this tank, and as their name implies, they need some form of water, and this is not a waterproof tank, don't forget that. So what did I do? I bought a tub, and I fill it with water, and I have a little pump in there, and I just fill it with water. It's about like, I don't know, 5 gallons of water maybe, and that is heavy. And that probably should not be the middle tank. I definitely don't think it should be the top tank, but it probably should have been a bottom tank, but I wanted Emmett to have a larger space. So when you look at the bow on this one, it is like majorly bowed, but I think that having a bar on the middle would prevent some of that bowing and would give it some extra support so that it's not bowing out and making me worry that it's going to just collapse. And the reason why I say that this one is partially my fault is because of having to put that bin in there. But this one here with the fire skinks, it just has substrate and some cork bark and a water bowl in there, and it bows. So it's not just the fact that these guys just have a larger thing of water. This tank with just having soil bows as well. So it just leads me to believe that there's just a fundamental flaw in setting up these enclosures, that they need some sort of middle brace support, that you could just slide your PVC piece over on the bottom and then it would be able to give it that extra bit of like support so that it doesn't bow out like crazy on the bottoms. I'm certain that Emmett's tank would do this on the bottom if it was lifted up. I mean, his tank fully separated in the back, so I had to like pound it in with a mallet with substrate. It was a whole mess because the end piece came out like disjointed from each other. But the fact that these tanks bow like this is just not something that gives me a lot of confidence. Now, I've had them for 2 years and it has been totally fine. So I'm not saying that it's like a heat rock situation where it's like every single one's gonna kill an animal, But I am saying that I think that the simple fix of put a bar in the middle so that way the piece does not bow as if it's going to just beluga whale and just erupt. I don't like it, and it makes me nervous, and I worry about it sometimes. Sometimes when I'm working in those tanks, I'm like, I like put stuff back slowly because I'm like, if the bottom just bows out of these things, there's no way I can fix that. With all of these connected together, with how intricately they are connected together with like the wiring and stuff, it would be an absolute disaster. So hopefully when I move out one day, when I have to eventually take all these apart, even though I siliconed in some of these middle braces, hopefully they won't just, the bottoms won't just like explode off, because that would not be good. That would not be good. I'll probably end up taking out all the substrate and stuff. I haven't had to do that with glass tanks. Like I said, not to compare, but like with my glass tanks, I don't really have to remove a ton of stuff. That would make them lighter, but I don't have to worry about the bottom panel of the glass just dropping away. Unless, of course, it does chip, which does happen. So I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but that needs to be fixed. The V3s need to have a bar in the middle to give them more stability. Full stop. My last con, like big con, is when I was buying these tanks 2 years ago, there were quality issues for some of the side panels and back panels for the PVC. I'll try to find pictures to show, but I had to reach out to the company multiple times for a couple enclosures because the panels that they would send me, as opposed to being a straight panel, were crooked and bent. So you might just think, oh, we'll just put it in the track and pound the lid on top and it's fine. Well, it wasn't fine because you have to fit the bottom track and the top of the mesh frame onto this panel that's not straight. So when it's not straight and it's bowing or bent, they will not join correctly. And that would just be another weak point in these enclosures, because I would just try to do that, but then when I would go to install the sides and then go to pound actually the mesh lid on, it would end up crumbling parts of the panel that wasn't straight because, you know, it's bowed like this, so when you're trying to get it to come straight, it ends up messing up the corners. So it just was a whole thing. Hi. Nice to see you. There's a fire skink right there. Hopefully you can see him. I think he ran away. But that was annoying because that was probably the only one of a few times that I have had customer service problems with this company, because obviously they need proof. They're not going to just send you more stuff because they need proof. That's normal. But I would send it to them, and then they would send me a replacement piece, and then that piece would be bent. So then I'm like, I cannot put this enclosure together because the piece is bent. And then they're like, well, and I'm like, it literally has a crease in it, like a full like bend. And things happen in shipping. I think they get the products come over from China. I totally understand, like, you don't have control over absolutely everything, and things do happen, but it did happen on a couple of these enclosures, and like, that just tells me that the materials used to make these are not always the best quality, or at least how they're being cut is not the best quality. But once I got that fixed, like, that was okay. It was just kind of annoying to have to continue, like, sit with these panels just sitting in my garage because I have to wait on a back panel to come in because the one is bent, and then it comes in and then it's also bent. So then it's like, okay, I'll just wait again and see. And once again, the V3s might be better. They might be better quality, different quality. I don't know, but when I got them, whatever version I have, you would get them, and a lot of times your panels would be just bent, and it was very frustrating and very infuriating to try to go back and forth about, please send me another back panel because I can't put this 60-gallon enclosure together, which I'm trying to design and install and put everything in, and then the back panel's not straight. So that was no go. No bueno. And I don't like it. So I think that they need to, hopefully the V3s are better quality, or at least a different quality, but if that's the case, Hopefully they're keeping track of how many of each panels are coming in as faulty. And then my hope is, like, if somebody packed that, did they just not even look at each panel? Do they just ship in the whole box and then put their name on it and then ship the box out? Or are they getting each piece and putting each piece in the box together and then shipping the box? Because then somebody's looking at it and they're really not looking at it if it can have a direct bend in it. It just, I don't know. It was just a little frustrating to me. One other minor con that I kind of touched on earlier is the way that the panels are set into each other and the way that they connect with the screen, with the tracks that they run on. It does make it a little bit difficult to make custom backgrounds for these tanks, because you can either make a custom background that fits the tracks that they're running in, but then there's a little bit of space between the actual panel and the fake background, or you could just make it off of the panel itself, but then you have the tracks showing. I went ahead and did it against the tracks, so there's a tiny little bit of space between my fake backgrounds and the panel, which I don't think is horrible, and it worked. But the problem is, if you have any animals that are insectivores, your crickets specifically will be able to go back there and, or chew their way through or whatever, and then you have crickets living in between your fake background and the wall of the tank, and they will sing. And if they're in your bedroom, like my tanks are, then they keep you awake. So I've gotten to the point where I'm so frustrated that I've started ripping out my fake backgrounds, which really sucks because they're really pretty and I like them and I spend a lot of time on them. I think it could be a user error. I could have probably designed my backgrounds better, but I'm not an artist. I'm a future veterinarian, so I try my best. But yeah, like I don't know how you would fix this per se. This is why I think it's a minor thing. I just wish that there was a way that maybe the tracks could be a little more seamless with the panels. Which, like I said, I don't even know if that's possible, but that way you can have a fake background and the panels against each other. So that way you're not seeing the tracks where the thing is coming in, and it's not leaving a space between the panel and your fake background, so that way insects don't keep you awake. I'm also going to throw in one final gripe that I have, or complaint that I have, which is very minor, but was kind of weird that I just want to talk about. Once again, this company is great. I've given them my praises, okay? So I'm just telling you all the things here. But the company did recently start selling crickets in bulk, which was awesome because I place a majority of my insect orders through them. I'm not sponsored by them, by the way. I didn't say that at the start, but I'm not. If they want to send me an enclosure, a V3, I'll review it, but I don't think they will after this. So, which is fine. But they did start selling crickets, and they sent out the notification on a Thursday saying, Doobie has crickets now, and I buy my crickets in bulk. So of course I went to the website and I ordered them, and it said, oh, they'll be there by Saturday. And I was like, okay, great. That's awesome, because I needed my bulk crickets. And then I was like checking, and then all of a sudden they're not coming, and they're not coming, and they're not coming. And so I reached out to the customer service and I was like, what's going on here? Like, why are my crickets not coming? And they were like, oh, you have to order them between like Monday and Tuesday so they get there. Basically the same kind of way that like you ship reptiles. Because they're like, oh, we don't want the crickets waiting at the FedEx stores like over the weekend. Like the FedEx hubs over the weekend. And I was like kind of frustrated by that, because I'm like, why would why would you not say that? Because it says it now on the website, but it did not say it when they first released them. And I was like, why would you release that you have crickets on a Thursday when I'm not even able to order them on a Thursday, or I shouldn't order them on a Thursday. I should instead order them on a Monday. Why would you not release it on Monday so that way I would be able to get my order in time, because now I'm having to go to PetSmart to get, 100 crickets, which I don't like PetSmart crickets anyways, so I'm thankful that they have crickets at Dubia, but like, why would you release it like that for marketing purposes? Because now I'm just pissed off that my crickets are taking even longer to get there when it wasn't even my fault because you didn't tell me that I could only order them on a Monday or a Tuesday. Also, you can order any of the other insects any day that you want, so why does that matter? I don't know. It just very much upset me because the person that I talked to also seemed kind of irritated that I ordered them on a Thursday when they announced them on a Thursday. It's just always been a gripe of mine, and I never know who or where to put this gripe and like where to put this frustration that I have, so now I'm telling all of you. And I hope that you understand my frustration. Is it a big deal? No, but it's kind of irritating. So that's that. Okay, so that is kind of a look at the reptile enclosures. Overall, I really do enjoy these enclosures. I know I gave them some cons, I know, but I really think that no matter what product you're dealing with, there always will be pros and cons, and there always will be things that you love and always be things that you wish were changed. And I think a lot of the I keep wanting to call them dubia enclosures, the reptile enclosures tweaks and fixes to fix some of my main complaints are really not that difficult. And I think they're relatively doable to make them even better. And I think that while they're good for a lot of creatures, I don't think they're good for every type of creature. If you have, for example, like my water skinks that do require, you know, a land and water feature, I do think that maybe going the glass route or the custom wood route that you can properly seal and make sure that it can maintain water, maybe with an inclusion of a glass area, I think that that would be better because you will be able to have more of that aquatic space. But for a lot of your species, specifically your temperate and arid species, I think that these tanks work really, really well. I haven't really had to deal with any escapees, which is super awesome. You cannot put baby colubrids in these tanks because they can sneak between the glass panels on the front. So if you are looking to get this for a baby snake, for example, I might wait until they're a little bit bigger, a little more juvenile or, you know, adult. That way they're not able to escape like that. They do have snake locks. I have one right here that look like this. They do go ahead and attach to the handles on the tanks. That way they're not able to escape, or people are not able to open this unless they just take it off, then I guess they can open it. For the arboreals, there are locks on each of the tanks that you can set. I don't have any of mine set just in case of emergency. I want someone to be able to go in and grab them if they need to. But you are able to lock them so others are not able to open them, which is, I think, a very nifty feature. What else? I think that they have really opened the doors for a lot of people to be able to expand their animals' enclosures, which I think is really, really important. And I think that we should be looking at more ways to incorporate space, whether that be horizontal or vertical space, to a majority of our reptiles that we keep in captivity. And I think that there's always continued room for improvement on how we're able to do that and how we're best able to accomplish that within the means of glass or PVC or wood or whatever. I think that there's always ways to do that, which we can continue to expand on. I hope that these enclosures do stay around for a really long time, and I hope that anyone who is looking into getting one, I would say jump on it, depending on the species that you have. Once again, if you have one that is more paludarium style, you know, half water or needs some portion of water, I definitely wouldn't recommend it. But if you have something like a corn snake, a ball python, leopard gecko, bearded dragon, uromastyx, giant day geckos, like I have them up there, they seem to do really, really well in these enclosures. And the more space that you can give them, the more your animal's going to be able to relax and exhibit a lot of natural behaviors. So really recommend, if you're looking at a size, if you have the chance to size up, I definitely recommend it. And overall, I think that these enclosures are pretty well made. I do like the quality of them, and I do think that I'm overall happy with my purchase of them. I'm very happy that they are so stackable. I'm very happy that they are so easy to access your animals. I love the fact that they're all front sliding panels, or front opening, as opposed to having to go from the top. And I'm really happy with, like I said, a majority of the materials. There are some things like the panels I talked about, which I think have a lot of room for improvement. They need a middle brace bar that just needs to be there. I think they need to find some way to make a solid cover for some of these, but their mesh cover is very well made and I very much like it. And yeah, so those are just some of my thoughts on the reptile enclosures made by Dubia.com. I hope this was helpful to you. If you have one of these enclosures, let me know what you think about it. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Is it the best thing that you've ever bought? Will you buy another one? Have you had experience with any other company? Have you had experience with any of the other custom companies that make their own PVC enclosures? I am curious to know about all of it. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one.